Hi, welcome to this year's Wildflower tour of Get Intimate with the Shrub-Steppe, social distancing edition. I'm here being filmed by my lovely assistant Sarah. She'll say hi a little bit later. But again, so I'm Ian. I'm here to talk a little bit about wildflowers you can find in the Shrub-Steppe. So you'll notice I'm standing in this area. There's a lot of shrub around. Weird, we call it the Shrub-Steppe because they're shrubs. When you drive around in Ellensburg and around the area, you'll see that it all kind of one color. It's just kind of drab green. One of my favorite things about the Shrub-Steppe is it's actually really diverse, and you can find a lot of really cool things out here if you just take the time to wander through it and really look at what's there. It's one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet. The problem is that it's all really small and you have to know what to look for. It's also constantly changing. Right now, we're here early May. If I came up to this exact same spot in about 2 weeks, there'd be different things up, and again, all throughout the year. It's constantly changing. It's one of my favorite environments. So thank you for joining me today. I really want to show you some cool things. Hope you have a good time. All right, let's go. So I'm going to show you a plant that you can identify when your parents or you're driving 70 miles an hour down I-90. We call this the 70-mile-an-hour plant because you can identify it when you're going that fast. This is the rock star of the Shrub-Steppe. So down here you'll see this giant yellow flower, and this is balsam root. Specifically, this is Balsam oryza sagittata. Totally awesome. It's one of the most charismatic plants we have here in the Shrub-Steppe. It's big, it's yellow, it's awesome. Once you identify it, you'll see it everywhere in the Shrub-Steppe. So the bush I'm standing here is part of the rose family. It is Persia tridentata, or antelope brush. It has these really lovely yellow flowers. It smells great. It's one of two large shrubs behind me. The second one is Artemisia tridentata. That is in the aster family. Both are large shrubs here in the Shrub-Steppe. They both have the species name of tridentata because they each have 3 little teeth on each one of their leaves. If you want to come in close in a second, we'll show you what those are. All right, so I want to talk about a really cool ecological relationship that's really common here in the Shrub-Steppe. So as we've talked about, there are shrubs everywhere, but you look around and you can find these berry little spheres, and they're not actually berries, they're galls. And so a gall is some sort of reaction that a plant will have. There's a lot of different types, but for this one, this is believed to be a wasp that comes and lays an egg on the plant's leaf, and then it creates this giant kind of weird ball sack thing. And if we open it up, there's a good chance we might find, oh yeah, look at that. So this is a little grub. This little dark spot in there, I don't know if you could see it, but this is a grub from an actual insect. And so when the insect comes and it lays an egg, it causes a reaction in the plant that it creates this little gall around it to protect it, and then the insect hatches and it can go away. Big sage here, and you can see all these really cool galls just all over the plant. And then what I wanted to show you is why it's called tridentata. So if we get in here and zoom in, you can see there's the leaf, and you can see there's 3 little teeth on it. So again, tri for 3, dentata for teeth. Yeah, remember, botanists aren't creative, we just name things for what they look like. The guy here is part of the carrot family, or Apiaceae, and it's Lomatium triternatum. So again, much like the common theme that botanists don't name things because they're creative, they name things because it looks like. The tri, again, is for the tri little tips on the leaves. So if you break this guy down and look at it, this leaf has 3 little leaflets on it. So again, this is Lomatium triternatum. The carrot family smells really nice. So often below these large shrubs, we see a lot of really cool, a lot of more wetland plants. And the reason to see wetland plants is because they bring up so much water that other wetland plants can actually survive kind of underneath them. So down below here, we've got some water leaf right there. You can kind of see it. It's kind of weird. But the cool thing is you can see pollinators too. So you can see there's a giant native bee, and he's pollinating this water leaf. Yeah, totally cool. We'll just give him a minute. Gather his pollen. All right, we'll let him alone. All right, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, you come out in another 2 weeks, everything will be happening. So we're really fortunate right now. One of the examples of something that's going to be happening and be really bright in a couple weeks is down here. So what this is lupin, and lupin is in the pea family. So these little flowers, we're really fortunate. It's kind of a shady spot here. It looks like it's a little earlier than all of his buddies. So come out in 2 weeks and this whole area will be covered in these really pretty purple lupin flowers everywhere. All right, so we have two really cool and really charismatic plants here in the Shrub-Steppe. The first, this guy right here, this is Lithospermum ruderale. It's part of the borage family. It's really, really awesome. It's one of my favorite. And then behind him, this purple guy, this is what we call Delphinium or larkspur, and it's really pretty. It's blue and has these really long spurs on it, hence larkspur. All right, this little guy here is Tritilia douglasii, or large flowered Tritilia. It's in the lily family. Most of you will probably be familiar with lilies in their popular ornamental species. You can go and buy lilies at the grocery store. They're really popular around Easter. But this is in the lily family. Lilies have 3 parts, so it's going to have 3 or multiples of 3, so 3 or 6 or 9 leaves. It's a little blue guy. It's one of my favorite. It's really closely related to onions and garlic as well. So we're still in the Shrub-Steppe, but we're also in a different type of environment in the Shrub-Steppe. And so what we're standing on is what's called lithosol. So it's lithic, which means a lot of rocks. And in here, you're going to find different types of plants. So we have 2 really cool specimens here. We have another type of sagebrush. This is Artemisia rigida. It's really kind of short and squat. It has smaller leaves, and it doesn't really get as big as the big sagebrush. And then next to him, we have this absolutely gorgeous specimen of paintbrush. Now, you might be familiar with more of the red paintbrush you might see up in the mountains, but there's also paintbrush that grows here in the Shrub-Steppe. And this is Castanea thompsonii. And unlike the red ones you'd see up in the mountains, this one, it's kind of subdued. It's not as brightly colored. It's got these really green and yellow leaves, but it's still a paintbrush. And this is a really cool find because you don't see too many of these anymore. So we're going to look at another Artemisia rigida, that other kind of small sage I just talked about. But this time there's going to be a plant growing around it. So let's check it out. Most things we've seen already are yellow and blue. Let's look at something pink. So in the midst of this, you see this giant, or not really giant, but a larger specimen of this stiff sage, or Artemisia rigida. And you'll see this little pink flower that's growing in it. It's a different plant, but this pink is called phlox. You might be familiar with it. Your parents or your neighbors, or maybe your grandmother might have phlox in their garden. And so it's pink. And you might also notice this really pretty orange and yellow growing on the stem. And it's not a plant. What this is a lichen. And so lichen is a relationship between a bacteria, usually a cyanobacteria, and a fungus. And when they grow together, they form lichen. And here we have this orange lichen. It's probably one called Xanthoria. Really cool exotic name, Xanthoria. So you got pink, green, and orange, and this brown. Really lovely colors out here in the Shrub-Steppe. Right, so again, up in the lithosol here, we have another example of what's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. So if you look down here, this is a buckwheat, and there's like 7, maybe 8 different species of buckwheat that you can find, but this one's cool. It's one of the smaller ones. So buckwheat is Eriogonum thymoides, and this guy's got these little tiny leaves and these little tiny yellow flowers. Sometimes they're yellow. Sometimes you can see over here they got a little pink or red on them. Totally cool. Not in full bloom yet, but it will be in about 2 weeks. So and that's everywhere around here. Totally awesome. All right, well, we're going to sign off. It's been a pleasure. So this is the person that did all videography, Sarah. It's been great having you. Once again, this has been Getting Intimate with the Shrub-Steppe, Social Distancing Edition. I'm Ian. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.